Corporal Hyun-woo Kim stared at the message on his tablet screen for the third time. He blinked hard and read it again. The words did not change. Report to Commander Williams at 0800 hours for special diplomatic assignment. Special diplomatic assignment. Hyun-woo had been a soldier for 6 years. He knew how to fight. He knew how to follow orders. He knew how to fix broken equipment and survive in hostile environments. But diplomacy was not on his list of skills. He walked through the clean white corridors of Viridian Prime Station. The diplomatic hub was nothing like the military bases he was used to. Everything here was smooth and polished. Aliens of dozens of different species moved through the halls, wearing fancy clothes and speaking in quiet voices. Hyun-woo felt out of place in his simple green uniform. A tall blue alien with 4 arms glided past him without looking. Too small. Creatures that looked like walking mushrooms chattered in high voices near a window that showed the planet below. He found Commander Williams' office and knocked on the door. "Come in," came the familiar voice. Commander Williams looked up from her desk as Hyun-woo entered. She was a tough woman in her 50s who had served in 3 different wars. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her brown eyes were sharp. "As always, sit down, Kim," she said. Hyun-woo sat in the chair across from her desk. He waited for her to speak. "I have an unusual assignment for you," Williams began. "The Galactic Council has made a specific request for human assistance." "What kind of assistance, ma'am?" Williams leaned back in her chair. "Have you heard of Empress Nari of the Sci-Fi Empire?" Hyun-woo nodded. Everyone in the military knew about the Sci-Fi. They controlled a large part of this galaxy sector and were very powerful. The Empress was their leader and was currently on the station for important peace talks. "The Empress has a companion," Williams continued. "A creature called a Vorthok. Think of it as something like a very large wolf." Hyun-woo frowned. "A pet, ma'am?" "Not exactly a pet, more like a partner. These creatures are very intelligent and form strong bonds with their owners. The problem is that the Empress's Vorthok has become sick." "Sick how?" Williams pulled up a file on her computer screen. "The creature has lost energy and refuses to eat properly. It sleeps most of the day and shows no interest in anything. The alien doctors cannot find anything wrong with it physically." "What does this have to do with me, ma'am?" "The Empress is becoming very upset about her companion. When she is upset, she makes poor decisions in the peace talks. These talks are very important for human interests in this sector. If they fail, we could lose access to 3 major trade routes." Hyun-woo began to understand. "So you want me to help take care of this creature?" "Several alien specialists have tried to help the Vorthok. None have succeeded. The council thinks that maybe a human approach might work better." Williams looked at Hyun-woo carefully. "I picked you because of your background." Hyun-woo grew up on a farm on New Korea colony. His family raised crops and kept animals. They had working dogs that helped with the livestock and guarded the property. He had learned to train and care for animals from a young age. "Ma'am, I know about Earth animals, but this is an alien creature. I do not know anything about their biology or behavior." "The alien experts know all about biology and behavior," Williams said. "But their methods are not working. Maybe what this creature needs is something simpler." Hyun-woo thought about his old dog, Max, back on the farm. Max had been his best friend growing up. The dog was smart and loyal, but he needed exercise and work to stay happy. When Max had nothing to do, he would get into trouble or become sad. "When do I start?" Hyun-woo asked. "Right now. The Empress is in meetings all day, but you can begin working with the Vorthok immediately. There is a team of alien attendants who will show you what they have been doing." Williams stood up and walked to the window. Outside, several alien ships moved slowly through space. "Kim, I need you to understand something. This assignment is more important than it might seem. The Sci-Fi Empire has resources and technology that we need. If these peace talks fail because the Empress is distracted by her sick companion, it will affect human colonies across this entire region." "I understand, ma'am. There is something else. The Vorthok is not just any creature. It has been with Empress Nari for over 20 years. She found it as a young animal and raised it herself. To her, it is like family." Hyun-woo nodded. He remembered how he felt when Max had gotten sick one winter. The worry and fear had been terrible. The Empress has tried everything her people know how to do. She has brought in the best animal specialists in her empire. She has spent enormous amounts of money on treatments and medicines. Nothing has worked. Williams turned back to face Hyun-woo. "If you can help this creature, you will not just be helping the peace talks. You will be helping someone who is watching. Their closest friends suffer. What if I cannot help either? Then we try something else. But I have a feeling about this, Kim. Sometimes the simple approach works when complicated methods fail." Williams walked back to her desk and picked up a datapad. "Here is everything we know about Vortex. Study it on your way to the Empress's quarters. The alien attendants will meet you there." Hyun-woo took the datapad and stood up. "Ma'am, why me specifically?" "There are other soldiers who grew up with animals." "Because you never give up," Williams said. I have read your service record. When other people quit, you keep trying. This creature needs someone who will not give up on it. As Hyen-Woo walked toward the door, Williams called out to him. One more thing, Kim. Be respectful, but do not be afraid to do things differently. The alien specialists have been treating this creature the way they think is best. Maybe what it needs is to be treated the way a human would handle the situation. Hyen-Woo left the office and began walking toward the diplomatic section of the station. As he walked, he read the information on the datapad. Vorthax were native. To the Silethi homeworld, they were large predators, about the size of a small horse. They were pack animals in the wild and were very intelligent. They formed strong emotional bonds and were naturally protective of their family groups. The more Hyen-Woo read, the more he thought about the working dogs from his childhood. These creatures sounded similar in many ways. They were smart, loyal, and needed a purpose. Maybe the alien specialists were making this more complicated than it needed to be. Maybe what this sick Vorthok needed was not fancy medicine or comfortable living. Maybe it needed something much simpler. Maybe it just needed to remember how to be what it was meant to be. The diplomatic quarters were unlike anything Hyen-Woo had ever seen. The walls were made of some kind of smooth purple stone that seemed to glow from within. Soft music played from speakers he could not see. The air smelled like flowers and rain. Two alien attendants waited for him at the entrance. They were Silethi, the same species as the Empress. They were tall and graceful with silver-colored skin and large dark eyes. Their movements were smooth and quiet, like cats. You are the human soldier, the first attendant said in perfect English. Her voice was musical and soft. I am Keeper Yuna. This is Keeper Minho. The second attendant nodded politely. He carried a datapad and wore a worried expression. We have been caring for Baram for 3 months, Yuna continued. Baram is the name of the Empress's companion. Tell me what you have been doing, Hyen-Woo said. Minho looked at his datapad. We provide Baram with the finest food available. Special meats from 6 different worlds, prepared by expert chefs. We keep his living space at the perfect temperature and humidity. We play soothing music and provide comfortable bedding. We have also brought in specialists, Yuna added. Animal behaviorists, veterinarians, even psychologists who work with intelligent creatures. They have examined every aspect of Baram's health and environment. Hyen-Woo listened carefully. Everything they described sounded expensive and complicated. What do these specialists say is wrong? They cannot agree, Minho said with frustration. Some think it is a physical illness that has not been discovered yet. Others believe it is an emotional problem. One specialist thought Baram was missing something from his homeworld. Has any of their advice helped? No, Yuna said sadly. If anything, Baram has gotten worse. He barely moves now. Yesterday, he refused to eat at all. They walked through several rooms filled with beautiful furniture and artwork. Everything was perfect and clean and expensive looking. Finally they reached a large room with tall windows that looked out into space. In the center of the room, on a bed made of soft fabrics, lay the Vorthak. Hyen-Woo stopped and stared. Baram was huge, much larger than he had expected. The creature was easily the size of a small horse, just as the datapad had said. His fur was silver blue and should have been beautiful, but it looked dull and lifeless. Baram's eyes were closed and his breathing was slow and heavy. His body was thick around the middle, clearly overweight. Even while sleeping, the creature looked tired and sad. How long has he been like this? Hyen-Woo asked quietly. He sleeps 18 hours each day now, Minho whispered. When he is awake, he just lies there. He shows no interest in anything. Hyen-Woo approached slowly. As he got closer, Baram's ears twitched. The creature opened one amber-colored eye and looked at the human. For a moment, they stared at each other. Hyen-Woo saw intelligence in that eye, but also deep sadness. It reminded him of an old farm dog he had known that had given up on life. Baram opened his other eye and lifted his head slightly. He sniffed the air, catching Hyen-Woo's scent. The creature's nose wrinkled and he made a low sound. Not quite a growl, but not friendly either. Be careful, Yuna warned. He has become aggressive with strangers. Hyen-Woo ignored the warning and continued walking closer. He kept his movements slow and steady. When he was 3 feet away, he stopped and crouched down to make himself less threatening. Hello, Baram, he said in a calm voice. The Vorthak stared at him for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, Baram struggled to his feet. It took effort and the creature was clearly out of shape, but he managed to stand. Baram was magnificent even in his poor condition. His shoulders came up to Hyen-Woo's chest. His paws were enormous and his teeth, when he opened his mouth to pant, were impressive. This was a predator, a hunter, built for strength and speed. But now he looked like a fat house cat. What do you normally feed him? Hyen-Woo asked, not taking his eyes off Baram. Only the best foods, Minho said proudly. Luxury meats prepared in delicate sauces. Sweet fruits from rare trees. Rich broths with healing herbs. Hyen-Woo almost laughed. How often? Whenever he wants to eat. We leave food available at all times, so he never goes hungry. And exercise, we take him for gentle walks in the corridor when he feels like it, Yuna said, but he usually does not want to go far. The specialist said we should not force him to do anything that might stress him. Hyan-Woo stood up slowly. Baram watched his every movement with those intelligent, amber eyes. The creature was studying him just as much as Hyan-Woo was studying the creature. What is a Vorthok's natural behavior in the wild? Hyan-Woo asked. Minho consulted his datapad. They are pack hunters. They travel long distances looking for prey. They are very active and need strong leadership within their pack structure. And what is Baram's life like here? Comfortable, Yuna said, confused by the question. He has everything he could want, does he? Hyan-Woo walked around Baram in a slow circle. The Vorthok turned to keep watching him, showing more energy than he had displayed in months. Look at him, Hyan-Woo said. This is a hunter, a pack animal, built to run and work and fight. What does he do here? He rests and eats and stays safe, Minho said. Exactly. Hyan-Woo stopped in front of Baram again. You have turned a wolf into a house pet. The two Salathi attendants looked shocked by his words. We have given him the best care possible, Yuna protested. Expensive food, medical attention, comfort. You have given him everything, except what he actually needs, Hyan-Woo said. He needs purpose. He needs work. He needs to remember what he is. Baram tilted his head, as if he understood the conversation. His ears perked up for the first time since Hyan-Woo had arrived. But the specialist said comfort and good food would help him feel better, Minho said. Your specialists have been treating him like he is broken, Hyan-Woo said, but he is not broken. He is bored and frustrated and out of shape. Hyan-Woo knelt down again, this time within reach of Baram's massive jaws. The Vorthok could easily hurt him if he wanted to, but instead of backing away, Hyan-Woo held out his hand. You are not a pet, he said to Baram. You are a warrior, but you have forgotten how to be one. Baram sniffed Hyan-Woo's hand carefully. His nose was cold and wet, just like a dog's. After a moment, he pressed his huge head against Hyan-Woo's palm. It was the first positive response Baram had shown to anyone in weeks. How did you do that? Yuna whispered. I treated him with respect instead of pity, Hyan-Woo said, gently scratching behind Baram's ears. He does not need a caretaker. He needs a pack leader. Baram's tail, which had been hanging lifeless, gave a small wag. For the first time in months, the Vorthok looked hopeful. The next morning, Hyan-Woo arrived at the diplomatic quarters with a simple plan. He had spent the night thinking about Baram and remembering the working dogs from his childhood. Those dogs had been happiest when they had jobs to do and clear rules to follow. Yuna and Minho were waiting for him, looking nervous. Behind them stood 3 other Salathi attendants and 2 alien specialists. Word had spread about the human who claimed to understand what was wrong with the Empress's companion. We have prepared Baram's morning meal, Yuna said, gesturing to a silver tray covered with expensive delicacies. Roasted meat from Centauri Prime, sweet berries from the forest moon of Valdris, and healing broth made with rare herbs. Hyan-Woo looked at the tray and shook his head. Take it away. Excuse me. One of the specialists, a tall, insect-like creature, clicked in surprise. That meal costs more than most beings make in a year. And that is part of the problem, Hyan-Woo said calmly. Baram does not need expensive food. He needs the right food at the right time. The specialists looked at each other with confusion. Minho wrung his hands nervously. But if we do not feed him, he will be hungry, Yuna protested. Good, Hyan said, being a little hungry will motivate him to work for his food. He walked into the main room where Baram lay on his soft bed. The Vorthok raised his head when he saw Hyan-Woo approaching. His amber eyes looked clearer than they had the day before. Good morning, Baram, Hyan-Woo said. Today, we are going to try something different. Baram tilted his head, listening to the human's tone of voice. There was something firm and confident in it that he had not heard from his other caretakers. Hyan-Woo pulled the soft bedding away from under Baram. The Vorthok scrambled to his feet, looking confused and slightly annoyed. No more sleeping all day, Hyan-Woo said. You are going to earn your comfort from now on. The alien attendants gasped in shock. One of the specialists stepped forward. You cannot treat him harshly. The insect creature buzzed angrily. He is in a delicate emotional state. I am not treating him harshly, Hyan-Woo replied. I am treating him like what he is supposed to be, a strong, capable predator, not a spoiled pet. He walked toward the door. Come, Baram, we are going for a walk. Baram looked at the door, then back at where his comfortable bed had been. He whined softly, a sound that made the Salathi attendants want to comfort him immediately. But Hyan-Woo did not comfort him. Instead, he waited patiently by the door. Come, he said again, his voice firm but not angry. After a long moment, Baram took a step toward the door. Then another. His movements were slow and his breathing was heavy, but he was moving. Excellent, Hyan-Woo said with approval. Good boy. They walked out into the corridor. Several aliens stopped to stare at the unusual sight of the Empress's companion actually walking around. Some had not seen Baram outside his quarters in weeks. At first, Baram could only walk for a few minutes before he needed to rest. His legs shook and he panted heavily. The soft life had made him weak. This is too much for him, Yuna said worriedly. Perhaps we should go back. No, Hyan-Woo said. He needs to push through this. His body remembers how to be strong. We just need to remind it. They walked slowly through the station corridors. Baram's steps became steadier as they went. Other aliens moved out of their way, some with fear and others with curiosity. After 20 minutes, they returned to the quarters. Baram was tired, but his eyes looked brighter. For the first time in months, he had accomplished something. Now you can rest, Hyan-Woo told him, but not on the soft bed. You have not earned that yet. He pointed to a simple mat on the floor. Baram looked at it, then at the humans and aliens watching him, then lay down on the mat without complaint. Where is his food? Minho asked anxiously. He will eat when he has worked for it, Hyan-Woo said. Right now, he needs to understand that comfort and food come after effort, not before. The specialists looked horrified. You are using starvation as a training method, the insect creature accused. I am using natural consequences as a teaching method, Hyan-Woo corrected. In the wild, Vorthax do not eat unless they hunt successfully. Work comes first, then reward. Over the next few days, Hyan-Woo established a strict routine. Every morning, Baram had to walk a certain distance before he could eat. The walks got longer each day as the Vorthax strength improved. The food changed to, instead of fancy delicacies, served in silver bowls, Hyan-Woo gave Baram simple, nutritious meals. Plain meat, some vegetables, clean water. Nothing fancy, but everything Baram needed to be healthy. Most importantly, Baram had to work for every meal. Sometimes Hyan-Woo hid the food and made Baram use his nose to find it. Other times, Baram had to perform simple commands before eating. The alien attendants watched in amazement as changes began to appear. Baram's coat started to shine. His movements became more fluid. The excess weight began to disappear as muscle replaced fat, but the biggest change was in Baram's attitude. The sadness in his eyes was replaced by alertness. He began to look forward to his daily walks. He waited eagerly for Hyan-Woo's commands, his tail wagging when he performed them correctly. I do not understand. One of the specialists admitted after a week. We gave him everything he could want, but he got worse. You take things away from him and he gets better. You gave him what you thought he wanted, Hyan-Woo explained. I am giving him what he actually needs. There is a big difference. He scratched behind Baram's ears as the Vorthax sat beside him, alert and attentive. Every intelligent creature needs purpose, Hyan-Woo continued. Without purpose, they become depressed and weak. You were trying to make Baram happy by removing all challenges from his life. But challenges are what make life worth living. Yuna watched as Baram performed a series of commands perfectly, his movements sharp and precise. He looks like a completely different animal. He is not different, Hyan-Woo said. He is just remembering who he was meant to be. That evening, as they finished their longest walk yet, Baram did something unexpected. Instead of going to his mat to rest, he walked over to Hyan-Woo and pressed his massive head against the human's chest. It was a gesture of trust and affection that made all the watching aliens fall silent. For the first time in months, Baram looked truly content. Not the false contentment of luxury and comfort, but the deep satisfaction that comes from honest work and earned rest. Tomorrow we will try something new, Hyan-Woo told him. Are you ready for a real challenge? Baram's tail wagged once, firmly, his eyes were bright with anticipation. The Vorthax was ready to be a warrior again. 2 weeks had passed since Hyan-Woo began working with Baram. The change in the Vorthax was remarkable. His silver blue coat now gleamed with health. His amber eyes were bright and alert. The extra weight was gone, replaced by lean muscle that rippled under his fur when he moved. But the most impressive change was in Baram's behavior. He no longer slept 18 hours a day. Instead, he waited eagerly by the door each morning for Hyan-Woo to arrive. His tail would wag, and he would make soft, excited sounds when he heard the human's footsteps in the corridor. Good morning, warrior, Hyan-Woo said as he entered the quarters. This had become his daily greeting, and Baram's response was always the same. The Vorthax would stand tall and proud, his chest out and his head high. Today, Hyan-Woo had planned something special. Instead of their usual walk through the station corridors, he was going to take Baram to the observation deck. It was a large, open space with high ceilings and windows that showed the stars. Today we try something new, he told Baram. Are you ready? Baram's ears perked up and he moved to stand beside Hyan-Woo, waiting for the command to begin walking. The alien attendants watched from a distance. They had learned not to interfere with Hyan-Woo's methods, but they still worried about their beloved companion. Where are you taking him? Yuna asked. Somewhere he can remember what it feels like to run, Hyan-Woo replied. They walked through the station together. Other aliens stopped to stare as they passed. Many had heard about the miraculous recovery of the Empress's companion, but seeing Baram in person was still shocking. The creature that had been a sad, overweight pet just weeks ago now moved like the predator he was meant to be. Captain Dae-hyun, the station's security chief, was waiting for them at the observation deck. He was a stocky Korean man with graying hair, and kind eyes. "So this is the famous Barum," Daehyun said with a smile. "I have heard amazing things about his recovery. He has worked hard for it," Hyunwoo said. "But today we find out how much he has really improved." The observation deck was empty except for them. It was a huge space, bigger than a football field, with a ceiling that rose 30 feet above their heads. The floor was covered with a soft material that would be perfect for running. Barum looked around the space with wonder. It had been so long since he had been anywhere this large and open. "What do you think, boy?" Hyunwoo asked. "Ready to stretch your legs?" He unclipped the simple leash he had been using during their walks. Barum looked at him in surprise. For weeks now, he had grown used to the gentle control of the leash. "Go ahead," Hyunwoo said, making a gesture toward the open space. "Run." For a moment, Barum just stood there. Then, slowly at first, he began to walk forward. His pace picked up to a trot, then to a lope, and finally to a full run. The sight took everyone's breath away. Barum moved like liquid silver, his powerful legs eating up the distance in long, graceful strides. His fur flowed behind him like a banner. This was not the slow, tired creature they had all gotten used to seeing. This was a Vorthok in his full glory. He ran in great circles around the deck, his joy obvious in every movement. Sometimes he would leap just for the pleasure of feeling his body respond to his commands. Other times he would skid to a stop and change direction, testing his reflexes and coordination. "Incredible," Captain Daehyun whispered. "I have never seen anything move like that." After 10 minutes of running, Barum trotted back to Hyunwoo. He was breathing hard, but his eyes were shining with happiness. He pressed his head against the human's chest in their special gesture of affection. "Good boy," Hyunwoo said, scratching behind Barum's ears. "You remembered how to be magnificent." From that day forward, their routine expanded. Morning walks became morning runs. Simple commands became complex training exercises. Hyunwoo began teaching Barum words in both Korean, and what he had learned was the Vorthok's native language. The bond between them grew stronger each day. Barum would follow Hyunwoo's hand signals from across a room. He learned to sit, stay, come, and heal with perfect precision. More importantly, he learned to trust the human's judgment completely. Other aliens on the station began to take notice. A Centaurian diplomat asked Hyunwoo for advice about her own companion, a bird-like creature that had stopped singing. A trade representative from the Outer Rim wanted to know how to help his pet that had become aggressive. "What is your secret?" the Centaurian asked after watching Hyunwoo work with Barum. "No secret," Hyunwoo replied. "I just treat them like intelligent beings who need purpose and respect, not like decorations that need to be kept comfortable." Word of Barum's transformation eventually reached the ears of important people. Admiral Chen, the human fleet commander, came to see for himself. Several alien ambassadors requested demonstrations of the training methods, but the most important person to hear about it was Empress Nari herself. She was still deep in negotiations, trying to work out a peace treaty that would prevent a war between 3 different species. The talks were difficult and stressful. Every day brought new problems and new arguments. But her assistants began reporting something wonderful. Her beloved Barum was not only healthy again, he was better than he had ever been. The reports described a creature full of energy and intelligence, completely devoted to his human trainer. "I want to see this for myself," the Empress finally said. "Arrange a meeting." Meanwhile, Hyunwoo continued working with Barum, unaware that his success had attracted such high-level attention. He was focused entirely on helping the Vorthok reach his full potential. "Tomorrow we try something really challenging," he told Barum as they finished their evening training session. "Are you ready to show everyone what a real Vorthok can do?" Barum's tail wagged enthusiastically. Whatever the challenge was, he was ready. He trusted his human completely, and he knew that together they could accomplish anything. The Vorthok had not just regained his physical health, he had found something he had been missing for years without even knowing it. He had found his purpose. Part 5. The test. 3 weeks after Hyunwoo began working with Barum, disaster struck the peace negotiations. A group of radical aliens called the Unity Breakers had decided that the treaty talks were a threat to their way of life. They believed that peace between the species would weaken their own power and influence. Their plan was simple and deadly. Kill Empress Nari during the negotiations. Without her leadership, the Silithi Empire would withdraw from the talks. The resulting chaos would give the Unity Breakers the excuse they needed to start a war. Late one evening, as the Empress attended a private dinner with other negotiators, 6 Unity Breakers infiltrated the diplomatic quarters. They were a mix of different species, all armed with energy weapons and explosive devices. Their intelligence was good. They knew the Empress would return to her quarters within an hour. They knew about the security systems and how to disable them. They knew about the guards and their patrol schedules. What they did not know about was Barum, the Unity. Breakers had studied old reports about the Empress's companion. Those reports described a sick, lazy creature that slept most of the time and could barely walk across a room. They expected no trouble from what they saw as an overgrown pet. They were completely wrong. Hyanwu was in the quarters that evening, completing Baram's final training session of the day. He had been working on advanced commands, teaching the Vorthok to respond to hand signals from long distances. "Sit," Hyanwu said, holding up his hand. Baram immediately sat, his eyes never leaving the human's face. "Stay," Hyanwu continued, then walked to the far side of the room. Baram remained perfectly still, every muscle ready but waiting for the next command. That was when they heard the first sound. It was barely a whisper, just the soft hiss of a door being opened when it should have remained closed. Most people would not have noticed it, but Baram's hearing was much sharper than a human's. The Vorthok's ears shot up and he turned toward the sound. A low growl rumbled in his throat. "What is it, boy?" Hyanwu asked quietly. Baram rose to his feet, every line of his body tense with alertness. His hackles raised and his lips pulled back to show his impressive fangs. This was not the playful companion of the last few weeks. This was a predator, sensing danger. Hyanwu trusted Baram's instincts completely. He moved quickly to the wall panel and activated the emergency alert system. Then he drew his sidearm and took cover behind a piece of furniture. "Guard," he whispered to Baram. It was a command they had practiced many times, but never in a real situation. Baram moved to stand between Hyanwu and the main entrance to the quarters. His body coiled like a spring, ready to release. The first, Unity Breaker, entered the room cautiously, his weapon ready. He expected to find empty quarters or maybe a sleeping animal. Instead, he found himself staring into the amber eyes of a fully alert Vorthok. The alien had just enough time to look surprised before Baram launched himself across the room. The attack was lightning fast and utterly silent. Baram hit the intruder with the force of a small missile, his powerful jaws clamping down on the alien's weapon arm. The energy rifle went flying as the Unity Breaker screamed in pain and terror. Two more attackers rushed into the room, but they were too late to help their companion. Baram had already disabled the first threat and was turning toward them. "Shoot, the animal," one of them shouted. But Baram was no longer where they expected him to be. The weeks of training with Hyanwu had taught him to move unpredictably, to use cover, to attack from unexpected angles. He bounded off a wall, using his powerful legs to change direction in midair. The second attacker's shot missed completely. Baram's counterattack did not. Hyanwu provided cover fire from his position. His shots carefully aimed to avoid hitting Baram while keeping the remaining Unity Breakers from coordinating their attack. "There are more coming," he called to Baram. 3 more in the corridor. Somehow Baram understood. He positioned himself by the doorway, using the wall for cover, just as Hyanwu had taught him during their tactical exercises. When the next Unity Breaker came through the door, Baram was ready. The alien never saw the attack coming. The remaining 2 attackers tried a different approach. They threw a smoke grenade into the room, hoping to blind their opponents and escape in the confusion. But they had forgotten that Baram did not rely only on his eyes. His nose and ears were far more sensitive than any humans. The smoke that blinded Hyanwu barely affected the Vorthok at all, moving like a ghost through the thick smoke. Baram hunted down the last 2 Unity Breakers with deadly efficiency. His weeks of training had not just improved his physical condition, they had awakened all of his natural predator instincts. When the smoke finally cleared, 6 Unity Breakers lay unconscious or wounded on the floor. None of them had escaped. None of them had succeeded in planting their explosives or reaching the Empress's private chambers. Station security arrived just as the battle ended. They found Hyanwu standing guard over the captured attackers, while Baram sat beside him, alert and ready for more trouble. Captain Daehyan stared at the scene in amazement. "How did you know they were coming?" "I did not," Hyanwu admitted, "but Baram did. His hearing picked up sounds I could not detect, and he stopped all 6 of them." "We stopped them," Hyanwu corrected. "Baram and I work as a team." The captain looked at the Vorthok with new respect. The creature that everyone had pitied just a month ago had single-handedly prevented an assassination attempt. "The Empress owes you both her life," Daehyan said, but Hyanwu was not thinking about gratitude or rewards. He was thinking about how perfectly he and Baram had worked together during the crisis. All their training, all their bonding, had led to this moment. They had not just stopped an attack. They had proven that trust and teamwork could overcome any challenge. Baram pressed his head against Hyanwu's chest in their familiar gesture of affection. His tail wagged once, proudly. The test had been passed with flying colors. The news of the assassination attempt spread through Viridian Prime Station like wildfire. Within hours, everyone knew that the Empress's companion and a human soldier had stopped 6 armed terrorists from completing their mission. But Empress Nari herself did not learn about it immediately. She was in the middle of a crucial negotiation session when the attack happened. Her security team made the decision to let her finish the talks before telling her about the dangers she had been in. When she finally returned to her quarters 6 hours later, she found them filled with security personnel, medical staff, and investigators. The evidence of the battle was everywhere. Scorch marks from energy weapons decorated the walls. Furniture had been overturned during the fight. "What happened here?" she demanded. Captain Daehyan stepped forward to explain. As he described the attack and how it had been stopped, the Empress's expression changed from confusion to shock to amazement. "You are telling me that my Barum fought off 6 armed attackers?" "Yes, Your Majesty, along with Corporal Kim, the human who has been training him." "Where are they now?" "In the medical bay. The corporal had some minor injuries, and we wanted to make sure Barum was not harmed during the fight." Empress Nari had seen her companion just 3 weeks ago, and the memory was painful. Barum had been fat, lazy, and depressed. He could barely walk across a room without getting tired. The idea that he had fought and won against armed enemies seemed impossible. "I want to see them immediately," she said. The medical bay was quiet. When the Empress arrived, she found Hyenwu sitting on an examination table while a medical droid treated a cut on his arm. Beside him, Barum lay on a larger table while doctors checked him for injuries. The Empress stopped in the doorway and stared. The creature on the examination table looked nothing like the companion she remembered. This Barum was magnificent. His coat shone with health and his muscles rippled under his silver-blue fur. Even lying still, he radiated strength and confidence. But the most striking change was in his eyes. Where before, there had been sadness and emptiness, now there was intelligence and alertness. This was not the same animal that had been wasting away in her quarters. "Your Majesty," Hyenwu said, starting to stand up when he noticed her. "Stay seated," she said. "You are injured." Empress Nari was tall, even by Silathi standards, nearly 7 feet in height. Her silver hair fell like liquid metal to her shoulders, and her large dark eyes missed nothing. She wore simple clothes, but her bearing made it clear that she was someone very important. She approached the examination tables slowly. Barum raised his head when he saw her, and his tail began to wag. The joy in his amber eyes was unmistakable. "Barum," she whispered, reaching out to touch his head. The Vorthok pressed into her touch, making soft, happy sounds. It was clear that he had missed her just as much as she had missed him. "How is this possible?" the Empress asked, looking at Hyenwu. 3 weeks ago, he could barely stand. Now he has defeated trained killers. He was never sick, Your Majesty, Hyenwu explained. He was just unhappy and out of shape. Once he had purpose and proper training, his natural abilities returned. Purpose. Every intelligent being needs something to do, something to work toward. Your companion is a Vorthok, a predator, and a guardian. He was meant to protect and serve, not to lie around eating fancy food. The Empress studied Hyenwu carefully. "My best specialists could not help him. They have studied Vortex for decades. What did you do that they could not?" "I treated him like what he is instead of what I thought he should be," Hyenwu said simply. "I gave him exercise, discipline, and respect. I made him earn his rewards instead of giving him everything for free. You made him work for his food and comfort." "Yes, Your Majesty, in small amounts at first, then more, as he got stronger. It taught him that he was capable of accomplishing things, which made him want to accomplish more." The Empress was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Finally, she spoke again. "Show me what you have taught him." Despite the protests of the medical staff, they moved to a larger room. Hyenwu demonstrated the commands that Barum had learned. The Vorthok responded instantly to every signal, whether spoken aloud or given as a hand gesture. "Sit, stay, come, heal." Each command was followed perfectly. Then Hyenwu showed more advanced skills. "Search," he said, and Barum began methodically checking the room for hidden objects. "Guard," and the Vorthok took a protective position between the Empress and the door. But the most impressive demonstration was when Hyenwu called out "Pack" in Korean. Barum immediately moved to stand beside the human, their bodies aligned and alert, clearly ready to face any threat together. "Incredible," the Empress murmured. "He trusts you completely." "And I trust him," Hyenwu replied. "Trust goes both ways, Your Majesty. He knows I will never ask him to do something he cannot handle, and I know he will always do his best." The Empress knelt down beside Barum and looked into his eyes. What she saw there amazed her. This was not just a well-trained animal. This was a confident, capable being who knew his own worth. He is proud of himself, she realized. He should be. He has worked hard to become what he is now. And what is he now? Hyenwu smiled. What he was always meant to be. Your guardian, Your Majesty, your loyal companion and protector. The Empress stood up and faced Hyenwu directly. "You have given me back, my dearest friend. But more than that, you have given him back himself. How can I possibly repay you?" "No payment needed, Your Majesty. Seeing him healthy and happy is reward enough." But the Empress was already forming other plans. This human had accomplished something remarkable, something that would have implications far beyond one Vortex recovery. "I disagree, Corporal Kim. I think you have shown us something very important about strength, purpose, and the bonds between different species. That deserves recognition." She looked at Barum, who was sitting proudly beside Hyenwu, and made a decision that would change both their lives. "I have a proposition for you, Corporal, one that I think will benefit both our peoples." 6 months later, Hyenwu stood in the Great Hall of the Silathi Imperial Palace. Wearing the formal uniform of a cultural liaison officer, around him gathered representatives from dozens of different species, all here for the signing of the most comprehensive peace treaty in galactic history. The peace negotiations had been completed successfully, partly because Empress Nari had been able to focus on them without worrying about her companion. But that was just the beginning of the changes that followed. Beside Hyenwu sat Barum, now wearing a ceremonial collar that marked him as an imperial guardian. The Vorthok had grown even more magnificent over the months. His training continuing, to develop his natural abilities, he was no longer just a companion animal. He was a full partner in the work that Hyenwu had been asked to do. Are you ready for this? Hyenwu asked quietly, scratching behind Barum's ears. The Vorthok's tail wagged once, confidently. Over the months, he had learned to enjoy these formal ceremonies. They were a chance to show off everything he had learned and to represent his species with pride. Empress Nari approached them, dressed in her full royal regalia. The silver and blue robes made her look even taller and more impressive than usual. But when she looked at Barum, her expression softened with genuine affection. "How is our star pupil today?" she asked, ready to show the young nobles what a real Vorthok can do. Hyenwu replied with a smile. The Empress had made good on her promise from that night in the medical bay. She had offered Hyenwu a position as a permanent cultural liaison between humanity and the Sci-Fi Empire. His job was to share human approaches to training, leadership, and building bonds between different species. More importantly, she had recognized that what Hyenwu had accomplished with Barum was just the beginning. The principles he had used, respect, purpose, earned rewards, and trust, could be applied to much more than animal training. The young nobles are waiting in the training hall, the Empress said. Some of them are still skeptical about human methods. They will not be skeptical for long, Hyenwu said confidently. They walked through the palace corridors together. The walls were decorated with beautiful artwork and tapestries that told the history of the Sci-Fi Empire. But the most impressive decoration was the living partnership between human, Vorthok, and Empress walking side by side. The training hall was filled with young Sci-Fi nobles, the future leaders of their people. They had all heard the stories about the human who had transformed the Empress's companion. But many of them doubted that human methods could really be superior to their own advanced techniques. "Today you will learn about strength," Hyenwu began, addressing the gathered nobles. "Not the kind of strength that comes from technology or wealth, but the kind that comes from understanding and trust." He gestured to Barum, who stood at attention. Beside him, the Vorthok was clearly ready for whatever was asked of him. 6 months ago, this Vorthok was sick and weak. Your best specialist could not help him. But he was not really sick, he was just being treated in the wrong way. Hyenwu began demonstrating the training techniques he had developed. But these were not the same simple exercises he had started with months ago. These were advanced displays of communication and cooperation between human and Vorthok. Barum performed complex obstacle courses, following Hyenwu's directions even when he could not see the human. He demonstrated search and rescue techniques, combat maneuvers, and problem-solving skills that amazed the watching nobles. But the most impressive demonstration was the simplest one. Hyenwu walked to one side of the large hall and called out a single word in Korean: trust. Barum immediately began running toward him at full speed. Just as it looked like the massive Vorthok would crash into the human, Hyenwu held up his hand in a stop signal. Barum skidded to a halt just inches away from Hyenwu, his amber eyes bright with joy at having performed the exercise perfectly. The hall was completely silent. "That is trust," Hyenwu said to the nobles. "It cannot be bought or forced. It can only be earned through consistent, respectful leadership." One of the young nobles raised her hand. "But how do we know these methods will work with our own companions?" "Because I have been teaching them to others for months," Hyenwu replied. "Captain Daehyen's security team now uses these techniques. With their patrol animals, 3 different ambassadors have successfully helped their companions using the same principles. Even some of your own nobles have asked for training." It was true. Word had spread throughout the diplomatic community about the human trainer who could solve problems that had baffled experts for years. Requests for help came from all over the galaxy. "The methods work," Empress Neri added, "because they are based on understanding what each creature actually needs, not what we think they should need." She gestured to Barum, who was now sitting calmly beside Hyenwu, radiating contentment and confidence. "My companion needed purpose and challenge. When he received those things, everything else followed naturally. Strength, health, loyalty, and joy." The training session continued for several hours. The young nobles practiced the techniques themselves, working with smaller animals and learning the principles of respectful leadership. As the day ended, Hyenwu found himself alone with Barum in one of the palace gardens. The Vorthok was resting in the shade of a flowering tree, his breathing slow and relaxed. "What do you think, boy?" Hyenwu asked. "Are you happy with how things turned out?" Barum opened one amber eye and looked at his human partner. His tail gave a single, satisfied wag. The transformation was complete, but it was not just Barum who had changed. Haiyan had gone from a simple soldier to a bridge between species, helping others understand that strength came not from domination but from partnership. The Empress found them there as the sun was setting. She sat beside them on the grass, her royal robes spread around her like silver water. I have been thinking about what you said that first day, she told Haiyan, about treating beings with respect instead of pity, about purpose being more important than comfort. Yes, Your Majesty. I think these principles apply to more than just animal training. They apply to leadership, to diplomacy, to building trust between different peoples. Haiyan nodded. I think you are right. That is why I want to expand your program, not just training animals, but teaching these principles to leaders throughout the galaxy, showing them that true strength comes from understanding and respecting others, not from trying to control them. As they sat together in the peaceful garden, watching the stars appear in the darkening sky, the three of them represented something new in galactic politics, a partnership based on mutual respect and shared purpose, where each member contributed their unique strengths for the benefit of all. Baram stretched and moved to lie with his head resting on Haiyan lap, completely relaxed and trusting. The Vorthok, who had once been too sad to lift his head, was now a symbol of what could be achieved when beings were treated with the dignity they deserved. Thank you, the Empress said quietly, for giving me back my friend, and for showing us a better way to live together. Thank you for trusting me, Haiyan replied, and for seeing that sometimes the simple way is the right way. The peace treaty was just the beginning. In the years that followed, the training principles that Haiyan had developed would spread throughout the galaxy, helping different species understand each other better and build stronger relationships. But it all started with one human soldier, who understood that every being, no matter how different, needed the same basic things: respect, purpose, and the chance to be their best self. And one alien wolf who learned that true strength came not from being pampered, but from being trusted. To do great things,